Welcome to this edition of the $1 Million Mastermind Podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. I'm talking with Jordan Frankling. Hello, Jordan.
Hey, how are you?
Great. What part of the country are you in today?
I'm in Northwest Arkansas.
I didn't know there was a Northwest Arkansas. Just kidding.
It's the best part.
Oh, is it? Great. A lot of lakes up there, isn't it?
Yes. Beaver Lake's beautiful.
Yeah, I remember being up there for a golf clinic or something a long time ago. And so let's talk about you are the CEO of Stratus, and Stratus is a concierge
human capital management firm
with 120 employees and 12 million or so in revenue currently. Started in 2015. And tell us about how Stratus got started, and you got started as CEO.
Yeah, so Stratus was started in 2015 as a IT projects-based firm. So by my husband, Scott Frankling, started the firm. And then in 2017, I moved over and brought what a lot of people would call staffing, what we call human capital management, over with my background in staffing. I brought that over to Stratus in 2017. So, and then from there, we've grown as the concierge human capital management firm. So we go out and, work with companies and their teams to strategize how to grow better, faster, more efficient, and with the right butts in the right seats.
And how did that decision come about?
So I was the number one seller in the and ran the number one office for the agency that I worked with before. And it just was kind of an opportune time for me to make a jump over to our own company. And my husband made a deal with me that he would run all the back office. He has an IT degree, that he'd run all the back office and payroll and everything if I wanted to do sales and recruitment. And we just kind of made the leap. Had two little twins at the time and just said, okay, why not? You made the deal. If I don't have to do any of the awful things, then I'll go just sell and recruit for us. And so we built it from there.
You're on the front and he's the back office.
Yep. He runs everything in the back office. So our ATS, our CRM, all of our tech stack, does all the payroll, finance, all that kind of jazz, runs all of our third parties. Yeah.
And how old were the twins when this?
So the twins were one when we started Stratus, when he started Stratus, and they were 3 when I switched over. And then 5 days after I switched over, I found out I was pregnant with my third, and we just kept going.
You guys are gluttons for punishment, aren't you?
Oh yes, for sure. So we now have twin, almost 8-year-olds and a 4-year-old.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
God bless the young parents, because what a job it is. How did you get in the staffing world, the capital, all of that? How long were you doing that, and how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I actually went to school to become a doctor. I thought I was going to be like a pediatric oncologist, did all of my internships in that realm of things, went all the way through college with all of my science degree. And I had a minor in art. But then I got out and started working as an admin for a staffing agency that my father helped start, and kind of worked my way up through that company. So that was the company that I was with before. And he had left. And so at that point in time is when I left as well and started our own. Yeah.
Why did you not continue on in the medical world?
So I got out of school a year early. I got a little note 2 weeks before graduation that said, hey, you only need one more class to graduate. You can take that class over summer if you want to walk a year early. And I was like, why not? So I still took my MCATs. I was accepted and into medical school, but I'd become the number one in that year. I'd become the number one salesperson. And so I kind of
You were
found
working while you were in school is
I was working in a gap year. Yeah. So
okay.
I took the early graduation. So I graduated in 3 years from college. And took the early graduation and took that year to work in the staffing agency, became a recruiter and then became a salesperson. And then in that year, became one of their top producers, not their number one, but one of their top in the first year. And just really loved it. The reason why I wanted to be a doctor was because I wanted to help people. And as a little kid, I think you always grow up thinking, no, doctors are the people that always help people. But I think, in the staffing world, you're really helping people move into their next career choice or into the next stage of life and things like that. And we're kind of like counselors. I know that sounds crazy, but career coaches. And I really loved it. So I just kind of kept on.
So how did that had to be a surprise for you that
My parents hated it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, my parents wanted to like convince me out of it daily.
They were
So
probably going to strangle you. They paid for this medical school and now you're going out there and what?
yeah. It was pretty much daily that they were like, are you positive? Are you sure? I mean, like, you should just keep doing this. And I'm like, I really like it. I'm doing well. I'm fine. I love it. I love what I'm doing. And I mean, like, seriously, daily for like 3 years, they were like, no, I really think you should go back. I really think that's what you're supposed to do. You've said since you were 2, you were going to be a doctor. And I was like, well, I mean, I really don't think I'm going to be a doctor. So it took a lot of convincing, but now I think they actually work with me. My mom was in HR for Home Depot for 17 years. And my father helped start another staffing agency. And so they both work within Stratus as well. So, yeah.
Well, it's his fault. He kind of got you started in that world, did he?
Oh yeah, 100% his fault.
Blame
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yep. I do blame him. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's all his fault. Yeah. He told me from the get-go, he was like, you're never going to do this. You're never going to work here. Your sister did it and she hated it. This is not what you're going to do. And then I started working there. I was like, oh no, yes, I love this.
So how did you have a knack for this type of work are you working with companies or are you working with individuals? I mean, when are you working with the people who are looking for jobs? Or are you looking for the company that are looking for employees?
Yeah. So both, right? So when we go out to a client, right, or we're going in, we're sitting down with the client and we call it an intake call. So we're sitting there and going, okay, where are you going in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? What's your year plan? What's your game plan for your personnel, right? Like where's your roadmap going? And we sit there and we go through all of that with them. And then we pull and extract out the positions with them that they've identified. They may or may not have job descriptions written. We can help them through all of that. And we go through the whole game plan and really see the vision for their organization. And then on the consultant side, the client, the candidate side, we go out and we find candidates, passive candidates that aren't out there necessarily looking for a job. Most of the time they already have a job. And then we go out there and talk to them about our clients and what they're looking for and really convey that vision that we've been working so hard on with our clients and pull the candidates into the right position, culturally and technically. So we make sure they're the right technical fit, but also the right cultural fit for the organization that they're going into.
And what income level do you, because you said this is a concierge service now, what income level are you recruiting for? You're not just doing it entry level or,
No.
lower staff.
Yeah. So we do mid to senior and VP. We've done CTOs, CIOs, C-level, everything. But from mid and up, on the junior level, I kind of call it my passion project. We are working on a program. It's called Fuse, so that we can work with those junior level candidates, because it's definitely a need to create a pipeline so that we have more mid-level people, right? And it's a need because a lot of our clients don't have enough time or bandwidth to spend training those junior level candidates into the positions that they need them in.
Yeah.
So we are working on that, more on the project space side, which was what we started out as, right? An IT projects firm. So going out, getting those projects, using the junior level talent, pairing them with senior level talent, and really doing like an apprenticeship program and training them into positions for clients.
When you go out to a company, you can't go in and, they need a person, go in and do all the intake thing. They
Right.
need a person. I mean, they've got to have a batch of people they're looking for, right? For those of you who are sick and tired of fooling around and are dead serious about wanting to move up fast, I've got something especially for you. I've combined the best insights from over 40 years in business and making $70 million in income and compressed them into a free webinar. That's right, it's a free resource. If you want to find out exactly what the concepts are that I use in coaching $1 million earners, register now at WeidelOnWinning.com. You'll discover the 5-part framework used by so many to reach their financial, personal, and professional goals. You can find that link in this episode's show notes.
Right. So a lot of the times, if it's a onesie, twosie position, those positions are with clients that we already know, right? Like, we know your team, we know what you need, we've got it, we'll fill that position. But the onesie, twosie positions are going to be a little harder to fill, just because we really want our clients to be our partner, right? Like, we really need you to be here. And if you can take that 30 minutes to do the intake call for that position, then we can be successful on that. But if it's just, hey, here's a position, I'm going to throw it over the fence, we're probably not the right company for that. Yeah.
And so how does, so what is the income level that you would start working at?
Yeah. I would say the lowest income level that we work with is about, 80 to 100K, and then up. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when your business, how do you know you're doing well?
Yeah. So how do I know, or how do our recruiters know that they're doing well too?
Both.
Yeah. So the recruiters there's a gross margin, and then they're all ranked off of gross margin. So we have goals for them, and then we do a trip every year, like President's Trip, for other companies. And if they can see, there's a scoreboard every week that comes out, and they can see where they're ranking against their peers and other producers. So, goal would be to be hitting like 3,000 per producer in gross profit and gross margin, right? And
what does that come from? What does that come from?
So that's the difference in between bill rate and pay rate. Bill rate and loaded cost, right?
Okay. So let's say you have you place somebody that's $100,000 salary.
Right.
How does that transfer to you or to your
So roughly bill rate, that pay rate's roughly $50 an hour. Then their loaded cost would be, depending on what kind of company and what benefits you offer, staffing wise, loaded cost can be 20 to 33% on top of that. And then on top of that would be your margin, right? So let's just say you could bill them anywhere from 80 to 100, just depending on what client you have. That difference would be your GM.
That difference between
loaded cost and the bill rate. So let's just say for numbers purposes.
You lost me again.
No, you're fine. Just for numbers purposes.
Yeah.
Let's just easy numbers that I know off the top of my head. $50 an hour bill rate, right? I mean, $50 an hour pay rate, and a loaded cost of 25% is 60, right?
Yeah, 6250. Yeah,
62.50. And let's say you're billing them at, 87.50, then you have
yeah,
$25
I
in
see.
GM, right?
And so, and then, uh,
And then
so
that's per hour. That would be a per hour, right?
per hour.
Yeah.
And so your, we could go forever figuring that out,
Mhm.
but the, I can see now why you're happy your husband is handling the back end.
Yeah, so it gets really confusing too. So if you dig into it, some staffing agencies will call that GM just for the recruiting
Yeah,
side. And some will say, well, the salesperson brought in the job order and the recruiter filled it. So now that GM split. So it's 12.50 and 12.50 an hour,
wow,
12.50 to sales and 12.50 to recruiting.
yeah,
And it just depends on how their commission plans are baked in and how they set all of that up.
yeah. So how do you get going in a business like this?
It's
How
really networking,
is it,
right?
is it,
Yeah. So staffing is
show me how that works. Tell me how
talking
that
to
works.
everyone. So
You started,
really,
because you said you in 2017, you
mhm,
started
yep,
and changed it from just, IT and tech support type things to uh, capital management, parentheses, staffing.
yeah,
And uh, so what was your first week, month look like?
yeah,
How did you explode? How did the top salesperson explode out of the gate?
yeah. So
With
we think,
twins screaming at home?
yeah, and going crazy, right? And then going back into COVID with two 5-year-olds and a 2-year-old. That
Right.
was nuts. Um, so we got onto state term contracts. So you can get onto those. A lot of those have staffing, portions to them, talent acquisition portions. And in state term contracts, we do a lot of state, local education work. And those are pretty consistent,
So
right?
government work, basically.
We do a lot of government, we do a lot of corporate work as well. And we stay in contact with like every single person we place, because you never know where their next position is and that they'll bring you along with them into that company, into that position. So we have one HR manager that's gone to 3 different companies, all fairly large, and at each company she signed us as their staffing agency, which has been fantastic. So it's really managing relationships and managing networks. And it's going to a conference and talking to everyone and really getting to know them. It's never sleeping on a plane and always talking to the person to see if they could be someone you could place or someone that could be your client, if you can help them out.
That would be prospecting. So talk about how you started prospecting.
Yeah. So so when we
Tell me
left,
more about that,
yeah. So when I left, I knew 2 weeks after I left and started with Stratus that there was a contract at Alabama, right? Which is where we're headquartered, at the state of Alabama.
Right.
And I went and got on that contract, which was the largest contract that I had when I was at the other agency. Went and got our name on that contract, which is still one of our largest accounts. And went to the CIO for the state and purchasing and everyone, and had them add me to that add Stratus to that contract. And then went to all of the software companies and IT companies that provide or vended to the state of Alabama. So went to them and signed contracts with all of them so that I could staff the personnel to those agencies or companies, and really be the person that knew how to staff within Alabama. Because let's be perfectly honest, there's not a whole lot of people that want to live in Montgomery, Alabama, or
Yeah.
move. It's hot, like 90% of the year.
Yeah.
And I had moved like 143 people in like 9 months. And so
Into that hellhole of Montgomery, Alabama. Just
yeah.
kidding. Just kidding, Alabama. Just kidding.
I love Montgomery wholeheartedly. I
Yeah.
love it. I'd move back tomorrow, but it was hard. I mean, we moved people from Seattle down to Montgomery, but
What?
Yeah.
Good
You have
Lord. They
you
must
have to find the way
desperately
people
done
tick.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you find the way they tick?
So I think there's really 4. Some people would argue there's 5. So people tick either for money, right? Title, purpose, which purpose can be also called culture. And then also like work-life balance. So so it's going to be one of the 4 or a combination of 2, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that we were moving down there were taking for like work-life balance and purpose, right? So the project that they were doing was going to affect a lot of people. It was really purposeful. And we found the people that meant a lot to and would, pick up and move for it.
So you didn't just go to Alabama football clubs around the country and find people who wanted to move so they could get season tickets.
Right. No.
That wasn't the game plan.
Nope, I didn't call through an
And
exam.
that might not be a bad one. That might not be a bad one.
It's not a bad one. Not a bad idea.
You get desperate,
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that came from me. Just kidding. Prospecting, you used a lot of what you did. You ran with who you knew and what you knew and reoriented those over to your new business, right?
I ran with that and then also tapped into their organization. So, hey, you've seen what I've done for you and how I built out a team from 0 to what we did for you guys here in Alabama. Who would you recommend I talk to in your network, in your organization, in people that you guys work with? Who would you recommend I speak with, outside of that? And always having a warm lead. I'm the worst at cold calling. I'll say it right now.
Right.
Never having a cold call.
Yeah. Yeah. The warm is infinitely better percentage wise.
Oh yeah.
In fact, if you do cold, you're going to go out of business.
Yep.
You're going to go out of business. So you've got to go friend to friend to friend to friend. Find a way to go friend to friend to friend to friend to friend. As I know a guy who knows a guy, or I know a gal who knows a gal, and
Yep.
that's what makes the world go round there. Thanks for listening to the $1 Million Mastermind. If you felt there were any valuable takeaways from this episode, please take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback is important and really helps us get the word out to a wider audience. Remember, we have a valuable webinar that is absolutely free. Register for it right now at whitealumwinning.com. Thanks for listening.